The story begins on a quiet, rain-soaked evening in the small town of Durham Ridge, the kind of place where secrets don't disappear, they simply wait to be found. Isla Mirza, a 27-year-old archivist with a cautious fascination for old objects, had returned to her late grandmother's house for the first time in years. The house, untouched since her grandmother's passing, still carried the faint scent of lavender and dust, a fragrance that clung to the air like a memory refusing to fade. Isla wasn't supposed to be there alone. Her mother insisted she wait until the rest of the family could gather. But Isla, compelled by a quiet unrest she could not explain, stepped inside anyway. The ticking of the grandfather clock greeted her first, slow, rhythmic, almost accusing, as if marking her every move. She intended only to box up old clothes, maybe gather photo albums, but the house had other plans. While reaching into a closet to pull out a sagging cardboard box, her hand brushed against something odd, a slight draft coming from behind the wooden paneling. Curious, she got on her knees and pushed gently. A loose plank shifted free with surprising ease, revealing a hollow compartment no one had mentioned in any family story. Inside it lay a single envelope. Thick. Yellowed. Brittle around the edges. Her name was written on it in shaky handwriting. Isla froze. Her grandmother had been meticulous, organized, intentional, impossibly private. She never left anything incomplete, let alone hidden. Why would she store something here? Why label it with Isla's name? And why hide it so carefully that even Isla's mother never mentioned it? Her pulse hammered as she opened the envelope. Inside was just one item, an old black and white photograph. At first glance, it was ordinary. A woman standing near a lakeside dock in the 1960s, wearing a patterned dress and a faint, serene smile. But as Isla lifted it closer to the light, she felt her breath catch in her throat. The woman looked exactly like her. Not similar. Not vaguely familial. Identical. Same eyes. Same jawline. Same faint scar above the eyebrow, a scar Isla had since childhood, earned from falling off her bike when she was 8. For a moment, Isla wondered if it was some kind of prank, a relative she had heard of but forgotten, but no one in her family looked like this. And certainly no one had such an uncanny resemblance. She turned the photo over. There was a date written on the back, August 3, 1963. 3 decades before Isla was born. Her mind spun. Who was this woman? Why did she look like Isla? And why was this photo hidden, not kept in the family albums but concealed behind a wall? The house creaked softly, as if reacting to her discovery. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Isla's phone buzzed, her mother calling. She ignored it. Something else caught her attention, a faint smudge in the corner of the photograph. She squinted, bringing it toward the window for better light. And there, barely noticeable at first, was a figure standing far in the background. A man. Out of focus. But his posture felt deliberate, almost watchful. Isla felt a cold shiver crawl up her spine. The woman in the foreground smiled warmly, unaware. But the man in the background wasn't smiling. His presence felt wrong, like an intrusion. Isla's heart began to race. She flipped the photo back over, hoping to find a clue she had missed. But the only thing there, aside from the date, was the partial outline of a name, scratched out so violently that the paper fibers had torn. Why scratch out a name? Why hide the photo? And why did the woman look like her? Lightning flashed, and for a second the house felt alive, a witness to something long buried, something Isla had now disturbed. She didn't yet understand the weight of what she'd found. She didn't know this single photo would unravel her entire identity. She only knew one thing, this photograph wasn't meant to be found. Not by her. Not by anyone. And somewhere, deep down, Isla felt the first whisper of a truth she wasn't ready to face: her family had lied. About everything. The next morning, Isla sat at her kitchen table, staring at the photograph as if willing it to reveal its secrets. The storm from last night had passed, but inside her chest, the thunder hadn't stopped. She barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the smiling woman, and the man lurking behind her. Isla placed the photo flat against the table, smoothing the edges. She kept expecting it to change, as if the faces might rearrange themselves, as if the torn-out name might reappear. But it remained exactly as it was, a frozen moment in time that felt increasingly unnatural. There was only one thing left to do. She needed answers. The first conversation, her mother, Nadia, opened the door with a surprised expression, still tying her robe. Isla? It's early. Is everything okay? Isla didn't waste time. She held up the photograph. Who is this woman? For a moment, barely a flicker, her mother's face drained of color. But she recovered quickly, forcing a small laugh. Oh, that. I'm not sure. Probably one of your grandmother's friends. She kept old things around. Isla narrowed her eyes. Her mother was avoiding eye contact, tugging unnecessarily at her robe belt, fidgeting, blinking too often. Nadia always did this when she was lying. It was a childhood tale Isla had learned long before she learned multiplication tables. She looks like me, Isla said quietly. Nadia's jaw tightened. A lot of people look alike. Don't overthink it. But Isla wasn't overthinking it, and her mother knew that. She pressed again. Why was it hidden inside the wall? This time, Nadia froze completely. She swallowed hard. Looked away. Rubbed her forehead. Inside the wall. Are you sure? Maybe you just found it in an old box. Isla stepped closer. I'm not mistaken. Why would Grandma hide it? Why is the name scratched off? Her mother's voice came out brittle. Isla, let it go. Please. Some things in our family, they're better left alone. Isla wasn't expecting fear. But that's exactly what she heard, real fear trembling underneath her mother's words. It unsettled her more than any lie could. Just tell me who she is, Isla whispered. But her mother only sighed, whispered something that sounded like, not now, not you, and closed the door, gently, but with unmistakable finality. Isla stood on the porch, stunned. She had come for clarity. Instead, she found panic. The second conversation, Uncle Farid. If her mother dodged questions, her Uncle Farid practically ran from them. He lived only a few blocks away, a middle-aged bachelor with a perpetually worried expression. When Isla showed him the photograph, he stared at it for a long second, too long, before forcing an awkward smile. Oh. Yes, yes, your grandmother used to talk about her, he muttered, waving his hand vaguely. A family friend. Someone distant. What was her name? Isla asked. Farid swallowed. His Adam's apple bobbed sharply. You know, something with an S. I can't remember exactly, Isla leaned forward. Why was her name scratched out? Farid's stutter kicked in. Scratched? I don't. I never saw it scratched. Maybe it happened by accident. He wasn't only nervous, he was terrified. His hands trembled slightly as he handed the photo back. Forget this, Isla. Seriously. Don't bring it up with your mother again. It upsets her. That statement alone made Isla's skin prickle. Why would a random old photograph upset her mother? And why was everyone acting like she had touched something radioactive? The third conversation, the grandmother's friend. Isla needed someone who wasn't directly tied to the lies. So she visited Aunt Miriam, not a blood relative, but a longtime friend of her grandmother. Miriam had known more family stories than anyone else. When Isla showed her the photograph, Miriam didn't react with confusion. She reacted with horror. Her wrinkled fingers trembled as she touched the edge of the photo. "Where did you find this?" she whispered. "Hidden in my grandmother's house. Behind a wall." Miriam closed her eyes, exhaling shakily. She kept it. After everything, she kept it. "What do you mean?" Isla asked. Miriam shook her head. "I can't speak on this. It's not my place." "But everyone else is lying to me," Isla snapped, unable to hold back her frustration. "Who is this woman? Why does she look like me?" Miriam hesitated, then said something unexpected. "It's not about how she looks like you. It's about how you look like her." Isla's breath caught. "What does that mean?" But Miriam wouldn't say another word. She pushed the photo back into Isla's hand and whispered, almost pleading, "Burn it, child. Some truths only bring grief." The fourth discovery, the inscription that night, Isla sat alone in her apartment, staring at the photograph again under a lamp. Her conversations replayed in her mind, the fear, the trembling hands, the abrupt refusals. This wasn't an old family memory. This was a wound. She tilted the photograph, letting the light catch the back. The violently scratched-out name was more disturbing up close. Someone hadn't just crossed it out, they had carved through it. But as Isla angled the photo differently, she noticed tiny remnants of ink the scratching hadn't fully destroyed. 2 letters. S. Her chest tightened. Was it a name? A place? A warning? Whatever it was, someone had gone to great lengths to erase it. That's when Isla noticed something else, a faint indentation behind the scratched area, like someone had traced the name repeatedly before destroying it. Almost as if they were trying to remember it, before forcing themselves to forget. The photograph felt heavier in her hand, as though it carried the weight of something grave. Something her family had buried. Something that was beginning to stir now that she had unearthed it. Isla didn't know what the truth was yet. But she knew this, everyone who had seen the photograph was afraid. And whatever secret her family was hiding, it had a name. A name beginning with S.A. The next step was clear. She just didn't realize that chasing this name would pull her into a past her family spent decades trying to erase. The following week became a blur of unanswered questions and sleepless nights. Isla couldn't focus at work. She found herself drifting away from conversations, staring at the photograph in her phone's gallery whenever she had a moment alone. The resemblance between her and the unknown woman didn't feel like coincidence anymore, it felt like a message, one her family had tried desperately to silence. But Isla wasn't willing to be silent. Not anymore. She began her search the way she always did, with records. Birth records, census reports, hospital registries, archived newspapers. It wasn't glamorous detective work. It was slow, methodical, and often fruitless. But Isla had always believed that every paper trail led somewhere, if you were willing to follow it long enough. The first clue came unexpectedly. The archival office, the municipal archives of Durham Ridge, were housed in a converted courthouse, a space filled with towering cabinets, dust-choked folders, and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Isla had volunteered there in high school, she knew its labyrinthine storage rooms better than anyone. When she approached the front desk, the elderly archivist, Mr. Callahan, greeted her with a warm but curious smile. "Haven't seen you in years, Isla. What brings you back?" "I'm looking for information on a woman," Isla said, sliding the photograph across the desk. "This picture was taken in 1963. I don't know her name. But I think she might have lived here." Mr. Callahan examined the image carefully. His brows furrowed. "Looks familiar," he murmured. "But I can't place her." Isla felt a mixture of hope and dread. "Can you check the census records from the late 50s to mid-60s? He nodded, disappearing into the back. Isla sat at one of the long wooden tables, tapping her fingers anxiously. The silence felt heavy, as though the walls themselves remembered the secrets she was trying to uncover. After nearly 40 minutes, Callahan returned with a slim folder. "Here," he said. "Only one entry might match." Inside was a census card for a woman named Sarah M., age 22, listed as living in a lakeside cabin near Hartley Dock, the same location Isla recognized from the background of the photograph. Sarah S. A chill ran through Isla's veins. Was this the S.A. scratched into the back of the photograph? But the excitement was short-lived. The second page of the file was missing, torn cleanly from the folder. Someone had removed it deliberately. And that someone had likely been a member of her family. The hospital record still determined, Isla expanded her search. She knew that if the woman in the photograph had lived in the area, she might have visited the county hospital. Hospitals kept better records than towns did: births, deaths, emergency visits, psychiatric entries, all meticulously archived. The hospital's archive server was slow, outdated, and frustrating. Isla spent hours typing variations of the name, Sarah MS Mir, nothing. But just as she was about to give up for the night, she tried one last combination, Sarah Mir. Her fingers paused halfway across the keyboard. Her own last name, Mirza, suddenly felt suspicious, as if it wasn't entirely hers. The screen loaded. One result appeared. A birth record. Dated March 14, 1997. Isla's birth date. She clicked it open, breath held tight. The mother's name listed on the form, Sarah Mir, last name cut off due to scanning degradation, father, not recorded, the infant's name, baby girl, unregistered, and then, a handwritten note in faded ink, transferred into private custody pending family approval. Isla stared at the screen, her pulse echoing in her ears. The room felt suddenly smaller, suffocating. This didn't make sense. Nadia, her mother, always told her she had been born at home with the help of a midwife. There was no hospital story. No adoption. No custody transfer. Nothing remotely like this. Unless the story had been invented. Unless she had been someone else's child. Her heart thudded violently. Was Sarah, this woman who looked like her biological mother? The thought shook her so deeply that she had to grip the edge of the table to steady herself. Her hands felt cold. Her throat tightened. But another question rose, and it was the one that terrified her most. If Sarah was her mother, why had her family erased her? Old newspaper archives desperate for more pieces, Isla shifted her search to local newspapers from the 1960s through the 1990s. She scrolled through microfilm reels, pages of faded print humming past her eyes. Most of it was routine, community events, fishing reports, weather summaries. But then she found it, June 1964, local woman reported missing near Hartley Dock, missing. Hartley Dock. A young woman described as quiet, intelligent, with a distinctive scar above her eyebrow. A scar Isla inherited. The article mentioned the woman had last been seen walking near the lake. No body was ever recovered. No suspect was officially named. The case had gone cold. Isla felt her stomach twist. She leaned closer to the screen. The missing woman's name was listed, Sarah Mirren. S.R.A. The S.A. on the photograph wasn't just a clue, it was the truth desperately trying to surface. And Sarah's last name, Mirren, was strikingly close to Mirza, Isla's last name. Had her family altered it? Why? She printed the article and tucked it into her bag. But as she reached for the photograph again, one detail caught her attention, something she had overlooked until now. In the missing person article, a witness had described seeing a tall man standing behind her near the dock shortly before she vanished. A man who fit the silhouette in the background of the photograph. A man who seemed to be watching her. Questions that refused to rest by the time Isla left the archives. The sun had set, casting the streets of Durham Ridge into a blue-gray haze. Her mind churned with possibilities, each more frightening than the last. If Sarah was her biological mother, what had happened to her? Who was the man in the photograph? Why had her family erased Sarah's name, her identity, her existence? And most importantly, why had they hidden the truth from Isla? The answers felt close, dangerously close, but every discovery only deepened the mystery. As she walked to her car, gripping the printed article, one thought echoed louder than the rest: this wasn't just a case of missing history. This was someone's life. Someone whose blood ran in her veins. And whoever had erased Sarah Mirren from the world. They weren't finished yet. Isla drove home from the municipal archives with the newspaper printout on the passenger seat, weighed down by more than just ink and paper. Every red light, every stop sign felt like the world was forcing her to breathe, to slow down, to process the fact that her entire existence might be built on missing stories, altered names, and deliberate erasure. The radio played softly, but she wasn't listening. Her mind replayed every family memory she could recall, sifting through years of conversations, whispered arguments, and unfinished sentences. The more she searched her past, the more certain she became: her family had always been hiding something. She just hadn't known what, or who, it was about. When she pulled into her apartment parking lot and killed the engine, she didn't immediately move. Her fingers traced the edges of the printed newspaper article lying beside her. Missing since 1964. Scar on the eyebrow. Last seen near Hartley Dock. The description echoed her own reflection so sharply it felt like staring into a distorted mirror of a life she never lived. Inside the apartment, she spread everything across the dining table: the photograph, the census card, the newspaper clipping, the hospital birth record. The pieces didn't form a complete picture yet, but the outline was unmistakable: her family tree had been pruned. Branches were missing. One branch in particular, one named Sarah, had been hacked away, buried, forgotten. And Isla had grown up in the empty space left behind. But why? The question weighed so heavily on her that it filled the room like another presence. She paced slowly, rubbing her temples, replaying every childhood interaction with her mother and grandmother. There had been moments she now saw differently, moments she once overlooked. She remembered being 10 years old, digging through her grandmother's kitchen drawers for colored pencils. She had stumbled across a small black box filled with old photographs. Her grandmother had snatched the box away so fast Isla cried in confusion. At the time, she assumed she'd done something wrong. But now, years later, she recognized the expression on her grandmother's face: fear, not anger. She remembered her mother always avoiding questions about her own parents, never talking about her sister, because Isla now suspected she had one, or any relatives beyond Farid. Family gatherings always felt incomplete, like chairs missing from the table, like stories missing from conversation. Memory after memory shifted in meaning, revealing cracks she had been too young to notice. She sat down again, picking up the photograph. The smiling woman. The lake. The lurking man. And the violently scratched-out name. Someone in her family had wanted this person erased so thoroughly that even the memory of her name was too dangerous to exist. Isla whispered into the dimly lit apartment, "What did you do to her?" The silence was suffocating. She needed answers. She needed the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Without thinking twice, she drove to her mother's house again, this time with all the documents stuffed into her bag. It was late, but she didn't care. She needed to confront her mother with everything she had found. She needed to force the truth into the light. When Nadia opened the door, she already looked exhausted, like she had spent hours waiting for this moment with dread twisting inside her. "Isla, you shouldn't be here," Nadia whispered. "I found her," Isla said quietly. "I found Sarah." Her mother's face drained of color. "That name, you shouldn't say that name." "Why not? Who was she? Why does she look like me? Why do hospital records say she gave birth on the same day I was born?" Isla's voice cracked with emotional force. "Why are there missing pages in the census records? Why did someone scratch her name out of the photograph? Why did you lie to me my entire life? Her mother backed up as if Isla's words were physical blows. I didn't lie to you, she whispered. I protected you. Isla stepped inside, closing the door behind her. Protected me from what? Nadia covered her face with both hands. You don't understand. You don't know what that woman did to this family. To this family? Isla echoed incredulously. Or what this family did to her. Her mother didn't answer. She simply sank onto the couch like someone whose strength had finally run out. Isla sat across from her, eyes burning. Please. I deserve the truth. Nadia looked at her hands, trembling violently in her lap. There are holes in our family history for a reason. Empty places that must stay empty. You think knowing everything will give you peace, but it won't. It will destroy you. Isla reached into her bag and pulled out the newspaper clipping. She disappeared. She was never found. Someone erased her from records. Someone made sure no one remembered her. Mom, was that someone you? Was it Grandma? Was it Uncle? Her mother made a small strangled sound. Not me, but your grandmother. She stopped suddenly, swallowing hard. I can't. You already hid it for decades, Isla whispered. How long did you expect me to live a life built on lies? Nadia's eyes filled with tears, not soft tears, but deep, heavy ones, pulled from a place of grief and guilt. You look so much like her, she murmured. When you were born, I prayed it wouldn't happen. That the resemblance would fade. But it didn't. Every day, you became more and more like her. Not just in your face, in the way you walk, in the way you stare at things with that intensity. She's my mother, isn't she? Isla interrupted. Nadia's silence was louder than any confession. Isla felt the air leave her lungs. The world around her seemed to stretch, distort, collapse inward. She waited for her mother to confirm it, to say the words aloud, but instead, Nadia whispered something else. You should have waited. You shouldn't have gone looking. Some doors stay closed for a reason. But why? Isla demanded. Why erase her? Why hide my identity? Why pretend she never existed? Her mother shook her head violently. It's not safe, Isla. Even now. You have no idea the kind of man. A sharp knocking at the door interrupted them. Both women froze. Nadia stood slowly, wiping her eyes, and walked toward the door with hesitant footsteps. She opened it a few inches, just enough to see who stood outside, and immediately turned pale. We can't talk right now, she said quickly. Please, it's late. Come back tomorrow. The door closed with urgency. Isla stood. Who was that? Nadia shook her head, shaking uncontrollably. Someone who must never know what you found. Her voice trembled as she added, barely audible, he was there, the day she disappeared. Isla felt the floor tilt beneath her. Her mother continued, your grandmother always said, if Isla ever asks about Sarah, we run. We hide. Because if the truth resurfaces, he will come back for what he thinks he owns. Isla felt an icy chill crawl up her spine. A man who believed he owned Sarah. A man who was present when she vanished. A man still alive. Who is he? Isla whispered. Her mother just shook her head, tears flowing freely now. Don't look for him, Isla. Don't look for her. Please, let the dead stay buried. But Isla wasn't listening anymore. Because for the first time, she realized something terrifying, she wasn't searching for a stranger. She was searching for the woman whose blood ran in her veins. And the more she looked into that past, the more the past began looking back. 3 days passed before Isla gathered the courage to take the next step. She barely slept. Her mother's trembling voice, the warning at the door, the mention of a man who believed he owned Sarah, these thoughts clung to her like shadows. But the silence at home had become unbearable. Questions demanded air. Answers demanded movement. So Isla did what she knew she had to do. She packed a small bag, grabbed the photograph, the newspaper clipping, and the census record, and drove north toward Hartley Dock, the place where Sarah Mirren was last seen alive. The road curved through dense forest, and as the trees closed in on both sides, Isla felt a strange tightening in her chest, like she was being funneled into a past that didn't want her back. Hartley Dock wasn't really a town anymore. It was more of a collection of aging homes, a few shuttered stores, and a lonely lakeside stretch where time felt stuck in a forgotten decade. The air smelled of pine, smoke, and nostalgia turned bitter. When Isla parked near the general store, one of the only signs of life, an old man sweeping the porch glanced up at her. His gaze lingered a moment too long, as if trying to decide whether he recognized her, or whether she reminded him of someone he wished he hadn't. Isla approached cautiously. "Hi, excuse me. I'm looking for information about a woman who lived here a long time ago." The man leaned on his broom. "Lots of people lived here a long time ago." His voice was raspy, burdened by age or secrets, or both. "She went missing," Isla continued. "Her name was Sarah Mirren." The man's expression tightened instantly. There it was, that same reflexive recoil. That same fear-soaked recognition. The same response everyone in her family had given her. "I don't know anything about that," he muttered, turning away abruptly and sweeping again with unnecessary force. Isla didn't move. "I just want to know who she was. If you knew her." The man shook his head, still sweeping the same spot. "Best to leave old tragedies alone." Isla stepped back, feeling the now familiar heaviness wrap around her. She walked deeper into town. Everywhere she went, she got the same response: averted eyes, stiff postures, people who suddenly found reasons to turn away when she spoke Sarah's name. It was as though the name itself carried a curse. Finally, she entered the only diner still open, a dimly lit place with peeling wallpaper and a jukebox that hadn't worked in decades. The waitress behind the counter, a woman in her 60s, paused when Isla walked in. Her face softened, then hardened just as quickly. She gestured for Isla to sit. "What'll it be?" she asked. Isla slid the photograph toward her. "Do you recognize her?" The waitress froze. Her eyes locked onto the image with painful familiarity. After a long silence, she whispered, "Where did you get this?" "My grandmother's house," Isla answered. "Hidden behind a wall." The woman exhaled sharply. Of course she hid it. Isla leaned forward. "Please. Tell me who she was." The waitress didn't speak at first. Instead, she poured coffee into Isla's mug with a shaking hand. Finally, she said, "She was my friend. One of the kindest souls this place ever saw. And when she went missing," her voice faltered, "we all pretended to forget her. It was easier than facing what happened." "What did happen?" Isla asked. The woman glanced toward the diner door as though expecting someone to burst in at any moment. "I can't talk here. Not where anyone can overhear." She pulled a napkin toward her, scribbled quickly, and slid it back. "Go to this address. Ask for retired officer Elias Carr. He knows more than anyone." Isla looked at the napkin. A house number. A street name she didn't recognize. "Will he talk to me?" "If he sees that photograph," the waitress replied, "he won't have a choice." Isla left the diner with her heart racing. The deeper she dug, the more alive Sarah became. Not just a missing person. Not just a family secret. A woman with friends, connections, a presence so strong that even after decades of forced silence, her memory could still shake people to their core. When Isla reached the address, she hesitated. The house looked abandoned, paint peeling, porch sagging, windows clouded. But smoke curled from the chimney, thin and half-hearted, like the house was breathing faintly. She knocked. The door opened a crack first, then fully. A tall, thin man with silver hair and deep-set eyes studied her with unsettling intensity. "You're Sarah's ghost," he whispered, voice trembling slightly. Isla stepped back. I'm not, no," he interrupted quietly. "You're not her. But you look just like her. Too much like her. Come inside before someone sees you." Inside, the house was cluttered but clean, filled with old case files, notebooks, and dusty photographs pinned to corkboards. Officer Carr moved slowly, as though every step carried weight. When Isla handed him the photograph, he sat down heavily in the armchair. "I haven't seen this picture in years," he murmured. "I thought her family destroyed all of them." "Why?" Isla asked. "Why erase her?" He closed his eyes. "Fear. Shame. Protection. Take your pick." Isla sat forward. "Please. I need to know what happened to her." Carr tapped the photograph. "She didn't disappear by accident. She was running from someone." "The man in the background?" Isla asked. Carr nodded. "Him. He was influential. Untouchable. Women didn't leave him. If they tried, they disappeared. People feared crossing him more than they feared the law." "Who was he?" Isla whispered. Carr hesitated. "A family friend of yours. Someone wealthy enough to bury an entire case." Isla's pulse spiked. She thought of the man who had come to her mother's door. Her mother's fear. The trembling. The way she refused to speak his name. "He wanted her," Carr continued. "And when Sarah tried to escape, when she found out something she wasn't supposed to, everyone who cared about her became a target." Isla felt her chest tighten. "Found out what?" Carr stood, walked to a shelf, and pulled out a dusty cardboard box. He brought it to her and sat down again. "I kept everything," he said quietly. "Evidence I wasn't allowed to submit. Things I was ordered to burn. But some cases, they don't let you sleep if you let them die." Isla opened the box slowly. Inside were yellowed police notes, grainy copies of statements, and a thin diary bound in cracked leather. "This belonged to her," Carr said. "She gave it to me the day before she vanished." Isla's throat tightened. The diary felt warm in her hands, as if carrying Sarah's last living thoughts. "She told me she was being watched," Carr continued. "Threatened. She said your family knew why. She said if anything happened to her, it wouldn't be a stranger's doing, it would be someone from within the circle. Someone who believed he deserved her." Isla felt the room tilt. Why didn't the town help? Why did everyone pretend she never existed? Carr sighed. Because the man who wanted her, he owned this place. Or at least, the fear of him did. People kept quiet to survive. Isla closed the box. "Do you know what happened to her? Did she die? Was she taken? Did someone?" Carr shook his head slowly. "I don't know. She vanished before I could protect her. But I know one thing, she left behind a child." Isla froze. Her voice barely escaped her. "You mean me?" Carr stared at her with a sadness so heavy it seemed to pull the room downward. "Yes. And if he ever learns you exist, he will finish what he started." Isla's breath trembled. Every instinct screamed that the danger wasn't in the past, it was here, circling her, watching her footsteps. The old officer leaned forward. "You've already stirred the ashes. Don't be surprised when the fire wakes up." Isla left the house shaken, clutching the box like a lifeline. She felt the weight of the town's silence closing in on her. The lake shimmered in the distance, cold and timeless, reflecting a history the town had tried to bury. But the truth was rising. And so was the danger. The drive back from Officer Carr's house felt unreal, like Isla was floating through fog instead of asphalt and air. The cardboard box sat in the passenger seat, strapped with the seatbelt as if it were alive, fragile, and capable of shattering into 1,000 secrets if handled carelessly. She kept glancing at it, half expecting it to throb, breathe, or open on its own. It contained answers. It contained danger. And it contained the last traces of a woman she had never met but whose face was carved into her own. When she arrived home, the sun had already dipped below the trees, leaving the apartment in a dim glow of streetlights and silence. She placed the box gently on the dining table, took a deep breath, and opened it. Inside, layers of documents were stacked neatly, far more organized than she expected for something hidden for decades. Isla laid everything out meticulously, police notes handwritten in fading ink, old photographs taped to yellowed paper, and at the bottom, the cracked leather diary belonging to Sarah Mirren. Her fingers lingered on it first. The diary felt heavier than it should for its size, as though the weight of what it contained had never really left the pages. Isla hesitated before opening it, feeling a strange sense of intimacy, like she was reaching into a stranger's soul, and yet, in some uncanny way, reaching into her own history as well. She slowly turned the first page. December 29, 1962. I think he followed me again. Or maybe I imagined it. No, I didn't imagine the shadow. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I need to be careful. I can't let them know what I found. Isla's pulse quickened. She flipped through more entries. January 14, 1963. People in this town are good at disappearing the truth. Easier to pretend than to confront. If I speak up, I'll lose more than my job. I'll lose everything. March 2, 1963. He warned me today. Said I should remember whose hands built this town. His smile felt like a knife. I don't think I'm safe here anymore. Isla swallowed hard. The pronoun, he, appeared over and over again, always with a sense of dread. But Sarah never wrote his name. It was as if even acknowledging it on paper was dangerous. She flipped to another section. June 10, 1963. I'm late. 4 weeks late. I took the walk to Hartley Station twice just to clear my head. I think I already know the answer, but I'm too afraid to confirm it. If I'm pregnant, if he finds out. Isla froze. This was her. This had to be her. Sarah's fear wasn't just about her own safety, it was about carrying a child into a world controlled by a man capable of erasing women entirely. Her hands trembled as she turned the next page. June 28, 1963. Confirmed. I'm carrying a life inside me. But it doesn't feel like joy, it feels like a countdown. I need to find help. Someone I can trust. July 3, 1963. I spoke to someone in town. Someone I thought I could confide in. He told me I should leave. He said staying here would end badly for both me and the baby. He wouldn't elaborate. But I know he meant him. He knows. He always knows. Isla felt her heart pounding painfully. She kept flipping. July 19, 1963. I need to disappear. Before he discovers the truth. Before he takes what he thinks belongs to him. Before my child becomes another secret buried under this town's silence. Isla stopped reading. Her throat tightened. This wasn't just a diary, it was a confession, a warning, a desperate attempt at escape. She set the diary aside and examined the next set of items in the box. There were old crime scene photographs, images of the lakeside dock, snapped from multiple angles. One photo showed a faint set of footprints leading toward the water, and another set leading away, but the second set stopped abruptly, as if intentionally wiped away or lost in the mud. Officer Carr's notes were clipped together, some stained with coffee, others smeared with what looked like old raindrops. One note read, Witness reported seeing a tall man behind Sarah earlier that day. Same description as other intimidation reports. Town refuses to cooperate. Another, search of the lake turned up nothing. Case closed prematurely due to family intervention. Family intervention. Isla felt her stomach twist. Her own family had stepped in. To protect her. To protect themselves. Or to protect the man involved. She reached for a stack of newspaper clippings. Most articles were short, vague, designed to avoid implicating anyone. But one headline from 1964 caught her eye: local woman vanishes after alleged dispute, community declines comment. The article offered little more than speculation, but one sentence made Isla's breath hitch. Witnesses claimed they heard a woman arguing with a man near Hartley Dock shortly before her disappearance. The man left town the following morning. Isla grabbed the photograph again, her photograph. The man in the background. The blurred figure that felt so wrong. Could that be him? Was he the one who followed Sarah, threatened her, tried to claim her? Was he the one who made Sarah vanish? She pressed her fingers into her temples. None of this felt real, and yet it felt horrifyingly familiar, like echoes of trauma passed down through generations. She dug deeper inside the box and found something unexpected: a sealed envelope with Officer Carr's handwriting on it. For Isla Mirza, when she's old enough to know. Her breath froze. She tore it open carefully. Inside was a short letter: Isla, if you are reading this, your grandmother has finally failed to suppress the truth. I tried to protect your mother, but she was afraid of him, afraid of the past, afraid of what knowing would mean for you. I believe you deserve the truth, even if others disagree. Sarah loved you. She fought for you. She died, or disappeared, trying to keep you safe. I hope one day you will understand her choices. And I pray he never discovers you exist. If he does, run. He is not the kind of man who forgets what he believes he owns. A shiver traveled down Isla's spine, cold and unrelenting. She sat back, staring at the collection of evidence spread before her. Her chest felt tight, as if the secrets themselves were constricting her breath. Her entire life, she had lived under the illusion of safety. But now she saw the truth: her grandmother hadn't protected her. Her mother hadn't protected her. No one had protected her. The only person who ever tried had been the woman she had never known, Sarah, and she had lost everything for it. Isla picked up the diary again, flipping to the final entry. August 2nd, 1963. If I disappear, it will be because he finally caught up to me. If anyone ever finds this diary, if my child ever finds it, please know that I loved her. That she was the only thing I wanted to keep safe. That I did not choose to leave her. I chose to save her. Isla pressed her hand over her mouth, tears spilling from her eyes. She hadn't realized she was crying until her vision blurred. She read the last line again and again until the letters lost shape. Her mother had never said it. Her grandmother had never whispered it. No one had ever dared speak it aloud. But now, through ink and paper, through fear and love frozen in time, Isla finally heard it: Sarah had been her mother. And Sarah had died trying to protect her. A knock echoed through the apartment, soft, slow, deliberate. Isla jolted upright, heart slamming against her ribs. The knock came again, louder this time. Her breath hitched. Had her mother come to check on her? Had her uncle shown up? Or worse, had someone else been watching her? Had someone been following her as she dug deeper into a past meant to stay buried? The third knock was sharper. Impatient. Isla moved silently to the door. Her hands shook as she reached for the peephole, but she stopped. She already knew. She didn't know how, but she knew. The past had found her. And it was knocking. Isla sat beside her grandmother's hospital bed long after the confession drifted into the humming machines and sterile air. It was your father. The words clung to her like smoke, impossible to breathe through, impossible to escape. She waited for her grandmother to wake again, desperate, terrified, furious, but the old woman remained still, drifting between sleep and fading consciousness. Isla stepped out into the hallway, gripping the edges of the wall as her legs weakened beneath her. Everything Officer Carr had hinted at, everything her mother had tried to hide, it all narrowed into one horrifying truth. Sarah hadn't just disappeared because of a dangerous man. She had been hunted by Isla's biological father. And now, he might know she existed. Isla's mother arrived moments later, breathless, eyes red as if she already knew the confession had come too late to stop. When Isla looked at her, Nadia flinched, like she saw Sarah's ghost staring back. "You knew," Isla whispered. "You knew he was my father." Nadia shook her head helplessly. "I didn't know for certain, not until today. I suspected. But your grandmother made sure we never spoke his name. She said if we did, it would give him power. That it would make him look for you." Isla stepped back. "So you let me grow up with no identity? No truth? Nothing? We gave you safety," Nadia insisted softly. "We gave you a life he couldn't corrupt." Isla wanted to scream, but the hallway was too quiet, too fragile. "You didn't protect me. You buried me. You buried her." Nadia wiped her eyes with shaking hands. "Your grandmother thought she was saving us. She believed if she sacrificed one truth, she could keep every generation after it alive. But she didn't know the cost. None of us did." Isla leaned against the cold metal railing. She handed Sarah over. "Yes." Nadia's voice cracked. "And she carried that guilt for decades. Every day. She died from it long before her body failed." Isla closed her eyes, overwhelming grief tightening her chest. She wanted to hate the woman who raised her mother. She wanted to hate her mother. But instead, she felt only the heavy ache of a story told too late to save anyone. After hours of silence, her grandmother stirred again. The nurse motioned Isla inside gently. She sat down beside her, heart pounding as she waited for the old woman's lips to move. Her grandmother blinked up at her. Her voice was faint, but her mind, finally, seemed clear. "Isla, child. I prayed you'd never learn any of this." Isla swallowed. Why? Why hide her? Why give her to him? Her grandmother's eyes filled with tears. "Because he threatened all of us. He came to the house, demanding she return to him. He said if she didn't, he'd destroy our family. Your mother. Your uncle. Anyone who helped her leave." Isla's voice trembled. "So you sacrificed her?" "I begged her to leave town," the old woman rasped. "I begged her to run far away. But she refused. She said she couldn't run while carrying his child. She said she had found evidence, things he did to others. Things she wanted the police to see." Isla leaned closer. "Evidence? What evidence?" But her grandmother shook her head weakly. "I never saw it. But he did. That's why he came for her. That's why he took her." Isla felt sick. So Sarah wasn't just a victim. She was a threat to him. A threat he couldn't afford, her grandmother whispered. That's why he made her disappear. Isla's breath caught. "And you let him take her." The old woman's face twisted in pain, not physical pain, but emotional agony she had held for decades. "I thought giving her up would save you. I thought he'd stop looking once she was gone. I thought it was the only way to keep a newborn child alive." Isla's chest tightened. "You thought killing my mother would save me?" Her grandmother cried softly. "I didn't kill her. I just didn't stop him." Silence settled heavily. Isla's throat burned. "So what happened to me? How did I survive?" Her grandmother's eyes softened. Sarah asked me for one last favor before she disappeared. She made me swear on my life, that if anything happened to her, I would raise her child where he could never find you. I promised. And when she vanished, I kept my word. Isla felt tears spill down her cheeks despite trying to hold them back. She wanted to cling to anger, but grief flooded past it, uncontainable. And my father, she whispered. Her grandmother closed her eyes again, her voice barely audible. He's still alive. Still watching. Still waiting to erase anything, or anyone, who threatens him. Isla's blood went cold. The machines beeped steadily beside them, slow, fragile, fading. Her grandmother squeezed her hand weakly. You must be careful, she whispered. He will sense the truth rising. And when he does, he will come for you. Isla opened her mouth to ask another question, but her grandmother's hand slipped from hers, falling softly against the sheets. She had drifted out again, maybe for the last time. Isla stood slowly, heart pounding in her ears. Every revelation tangled into a single chilling understanding: her mother had run from him. Her grandmother had betrayed Sarah to protect her. And now, he would not let the past repeat. He would erase her too. The more Isla learned, the more she realized one haunting truth: Sarah hadn't disappeared because she was weak. She disappeared because she was brave. And now, Isla would need that same bravery, because she was standing on the same path Sarah had walked, and the same man was waiting at the end of it. Isla could still hear the words echoing in her skull long after her grandmother slipped back into unconsciousness. It was your father. The sentence didn't just ring in her ears, it crawled under her skin, nested in her thoughts, poisoning every breath she took. She sat frozen beside the hospital bed, unable to move, unable to speak. Her mind raced, but her body felt numb. Her father. The man who stalked Sarah. The man who terrorized the town. The man feared by her mother, by Officer Carr, by everyone who had heard his name. The man who believed he owned the women he touched. And according to her dying grandmother, the man responsible for Sarah's disappearance. Isla couldn't comprehend it. She didn't want to believe it. But deep inside, she recognized a cold certainty settling into place. Everything led to him. Every silent threat. Every erased record. Every lie her family built around her childhood. He wasn't just part of the story. He was the story. She stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over the chair. The hospital room felt too small, too airless, like the truth itself was suffocating her. Her grandmother lay peacefully now, unaware of the panic unraveling inside Isla. Her father. She had grown up thinking she didn't have one, just vague mentions of a man who left early, a placeholder explained away through half-truths. She never questioned it. Children rarely question the lies they're raised on, they only begin unraveling them when life forces them to. Isla walked out of the hospital in a daze. The hallway light seemed too bright. The sounds too sharp. She didn't know where she was going until she found herself at her car, gripping the steering wheel hard enough for her knuckles to whiten. She drove without thinking. Her thoughts were too chaotic to steer with logic. Her heart pounded painfully, each beat reminding her of the blood running through her veins, the blood she shared with a man capable of monstrous things. She didn't want to share anything with him. But blood doesn't lie. Blood binds. Blood betrays. Her grandmother's words haunted her. I didn't mean to kill her. But I let him take her. And that is the same thing. The same thing. Isla pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, swallowing the rising nausea. Her grandmother had been complicit. Her mother had been terrified. Her uncle had been broken. The entire family had participated in a conspiracy of silence, out of fear, shame, or cowardice. But Isla wasn't them. And she wasn't going to hide from this. Not anymore. It was time to confront the truth, directly, brutally, completely. And there was only one person alive who could give her that truth. The only person who had lived through it, suffered through it, survived it long enough to tell the story. Her grandmother had confessed to her crime, but the details were fragmented. Her mother was terrified but evasive. Her uncle didn't know enough. Officer Carr had given her pieces. But none of them knew everything. Only one person left did. Sarah's friend, the waitress at the diner. Isla drove back toward Hartley Dock as the sky darkened. The lake shimmered dimly in the twilight, reflecting a world swallowed by silence. The diner's neon sign flickered weakly, like a heartbeat on life support. Inside, the same waitress stood behind the counter, wiping glasses that didn't need cleaning. When she saw Isla enter, she froze. "You shouldn't be here again," she said quietly. "Not after what you've learned." Isla placed a trembling hand on the counter. "My grandmother told me who he was." The waitress's expression collapsed into grief and fear. "Oh, child. I hoped you wouldn't go that far." "I need to know everything," Isla said. "All of it. No more cryptic warnings. No more omissions." The waitress hesitated, glancing around the nearly empty diner before locking the front door. She flipped the sign to closed. "Sit," she said. "And don't interrupt. This isn't a story you ease into." Isla sat. Her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The waitress, whose name Isla realized she still didn't know, pulled a chair close and lowered her voice. "You look like her," she murmured. "Just like her. Same eyes. Same stubbornness. Same spark. I knew this day would come." "Tell me about her," Isla whispered. The woman nodded slowly. Sarah Mirren was brilliant. Kind. Strong-willed. She didn't fit into a place like this, a place built on fear and silence. She worked at the library, spent her evenings writing, dreaming, wanting more than this forgotten town could offer. A sad smile touched her lips. And that's how he noticed her. Isla felt her heart constrict. "Him." The woman's voice lowered further. "Your father. A man who believed he deserved every beautiful thing he saw. He had money, influence, connections. The kind of power that makes people look away when something wicked walks past." Isla's breath shook. Did she ever love him? The waitress looked horrified. "No. God, no. He forced himself into her life. He pursued her relentlessly. When she rejected him, he escalated. Threats. Visits at night. Showing up wherever she went. She tried to report him. The police said their hands were tied. Your grandmother begged her to stop resisting him." Isla stiffened. Grandma wanted her to submit. She wanted her to survive, the waitress said gently. She thought compliance was the only way to stay alive. But Sarah wasn't built that way. She wanted freedom, not survival. Isla swallowed hard. "And when she became pregnant?" The waitress nodded. "That changed everything. She knew he'd claim the baby. She knew you would never have a life of your own if he knew. She was desperate. That's why she went to your grandmother for help." Isla's stomach twisted painfully. But Grandma betrayed her. The woman's eyes filled with sorrow. "Yes. Your grandmother believed sacrificing one person would protect the rest. She believed giving Sarah up would make him leave the family alone. It was fear disguised as logic." Isla felt tears well in her eyes. Did Sarah know she was being betrayed? "Yes," the waitress whispered. "At the last moment. She tried to run. She made it as far as Hartley Dock. But he caught her." Isla's breathing faltered. The room blurred at the edges. "What happened to her?" "We don't know," the waitress said. "No body was ever found. But everyone knew she wasn't coming back. Isla closed her eyes, a tear sliding down her cheek. And my mother? Isla asked quietly. Why did she lie? She didn't lie, the waitress said. She obeyed. After Sarah vanished, your grandmother took the baby, you, and told everyone you died with her. She hid you. She renamed you. She made your mother raise you in secret to keep you safe. Isla stared at her. Safe from my own father. Yes. The woman squeezed her hand gently. He believed the baby died. That's why he eventually left the family alone. That lie saved your life. Isla felt a strange, aching hollowness inside her. Why didn't anyone tell me? The waitress sighed. Because knowing makes you a threat to him. Your existence is the one truth that could destroy everything he built. And men like him do not allow themselves to be destroyed. Isla looked down at her hands. He's still alive. Yes. And he's looking for me. The waitress's gaze sharpened with fear. Has he tried to approach you? Isla nodded. He came to my mother's door. The waitress's face drained of color. Then you don't have much time. Isla swallowed. Time for what? The woman leaned in, voice shaking. Time before he realizes what everyone else has already seen, that you are Sarah's daughter. That you are the child he believed died. That you are the one thing he lost. Isla froze. He will come for you, the waitress said. He always takes what he believes belongs to him. Isla felt her heart break open, not from fear, but from a profound, devastating clarity. This wasn't just about discovering the past. This wasn't about solving a mystery. This wasn't even about her identity anymore. This was a hunt. And she was the missing piece of a story her father never finished. The waitress squeezed her hand again. Your only chance is to get ahead of him. Find out exactly what he did. Expose him. It's the only power you have. Isla nodded slowly, determination replacing the fear in her veins. She wasn't going to run. She wasn't going to hide. She wasn't going to repeat Sarah's fate. She would finish what Sarah started. She would confront the man who destroyed her family. She would uncover every lie her bloodline was built on. At any cost. Isla returned home with her grandmother's confession echoing in her mind like a warning carved into stone. He was your father. The words wouldn't leave her. They curled beneath her skin, whispered through every breath, haunted the corners of every room. But nothing terrified her more than the realization that the blurred figure in the photograph, the man standing behind Sarah moments before her disappearance, wasn't a stranger. He was her blood. The next days passed in a haze. Isla barely ate, barely slept. She spent hours studying the photograph, zooming into the grainy silhouette behind Sarah, the broad shoulders, the rigid posture, the way he seemed to loom rather than simply stand. She'd never seen him clearly. And yet, fragments of memory stirred inside her. A tall man visiting when she was young. A shadow passing by the living room doorway. Her mother's voice trembling when she told Isla to stay in her room. Had she met him? Had he watched her as a child? The thought made her skin crawl. Determined to uncover his identity, Isla returned to Officer Carr's house one last time. When she showed him the photograph again, focusing on the background figure, Carr exhaled sharply, almost in defeat. I hoped you wouldn't ask, he murmured. I hoped you'd walk away before this part. Who is he? Isla pressed. Carr rubbed his temples, defeated. A powerful man. Wealthy. Untouchable. People here called him Mr. Harland. Your grandmother knew him. Your mother knew him. This entire town feared him. Isla's breath caught. And he's my father. Carr nodded slowly. Yes. And he knows how to disappear into people's lives without ever being seen. He had connections in law enforcement, local government, businesses. If he walked into a room, people pretended they didn't notice. Isla felt the room tilt. He's been watching me. Carr's eyes darkened. He watches everything he believes he owns. Isla's stomach twisted. The man in the background wasn't just witnessing Sarah's final moments, he had orchestrated them. He had erased her. And if he discovered Isla was alive, she wouldn't be a daughter to him. She would be unfinished business. As Isla left Carr's house, a chilling realization settled over her like frost. She wasn't just uncovering her mother's past. She was stepping into her father's shadow, and he was still standing exactly where he'd always been, right behind her. Isla began noticing small disturbances, lights left on when she knew she'd turned them off, her front door slightly ajar after she triple-checked the lock, the faint smell of cologne she didn't own lingering in the hallway. At first, she tried convincing herself it was paranoia, the residue of too many revelations in too little time. But then she spotted footprints in the thin dust outside her window, fresh, deliberate, facing inward. Someone was watching her. Someone had been inside. She contacted a journalist she trusted, desperate to document everything before the truth could be erased again. Together, they pieced through Sarah's diary, Officer Carr's notes, and the fragmented evidence of a man who thrived in shadows. But one night, when Isla returned home, her stomach dropped. The photograph of Sarah was gone.